Welcome to On Top of PR with Jason Mudd, presented by Review Maxer.
Hello and welcome to On Top of PR. I'm your host, Jason Mudd with Axia Public Relations. Today, I'm joined by a special guest, Shel Holtz. He is the Senior Director of Communication at Webcor, a leading commercial general contractor and builder based in California. With nearly 50 years of experience, Shel is a seasoned expert in strategic communication. He is a certified strategic communication management professional and has held several communication roles at Fortune 400 companies. For over 20 years, Shel worked as an independent consultant, advising major corporations worldwide on integrating digital technologies into their communication strategy, enhancing internal communication, and leveraging social media. Shel, welcome to On Top of PR.
Thanks, Jason. Pleasure to be here. Appreciate the invitation.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here and glad you're here too. And today we're talking about the power of AI in communication. It's a topic I feel like we can't exhaust enough right now, especially as you and I were talking before the recording, how, shockingly, some people are just still, resistant and not even getting involved in AI. And I think we'll get to that a little bit later in the episode because I sense we both have strong opinions about that. So the first, for our topic today, the power of AI in communication, let's talk initially about kind of basic uses of AI for communication professionals, Shel.
Sure. And there are a lot. And for communicators to figure out what the best use cases are for them, they need to conduct R&D. You need to be the researcher in your organization. As I've been telling anyone who will listen, this is really the first technology that has been introduced into the business world that is not used uniformly the same way by everybody in the company. When we looked at the introduction of email, we looked at the introduction of web browsers, for example, IT rolled these out and you could train everybody to use them the same way, and then they were able to do their jobs using these tools. With AI as it is configured today, and we're talking about generative AI here,
right?
Right now, it's all chatbots. It's ChatGPT and Claude and Gemini and Perplexity and tools like that. Those are the text-to-text. There's multimodal as well, and there's text-to-video and text-to-image and image-to-image and all of these different permutations of generative AI. It's all personal use. It's how you're going to use it when you're sitting at your computer. Nobody needs to teach you how to enter text into a text field. How do you use it in your job? Well, you need to invite it to the table for everything you do and figure out where it adds value in the workflows that you're engaged with every single day. So I can't sit here and tell communicators how they're going to use it on the job. I can certainly talk about how I use it as a communicator in my job, and it's in tons of ways. The last thing I do with it, though, is writing. Most people talk about it as a writer. I think it generally is mediocre. With good prompts, it can be pretty good. I have used it in my writing process. So when I talk about a workflow, I've outlined what my workflow is for an article, starting with identifying a topic and ending with adding subheads and doing an edit. And I have experimented with AI for each step of article writing, and I've identified where in the workflow it fits, and I have adjusted my workflows to accommodate that. So I have added the idea that I'm going to analyze the analytics that we have internally on our internet to find out what kind of articles people are reading, so that when I have to write an article about something, I am able to adapt it into the style of something that we know people are interested in, to give it that angle. If I'm going to interview a subject matter expert on a topic that I have no particular knowledge of, I work for a construction company and I'm not an engineer. So I talk to a lot of people about a lot of things where I have no background and no knowledge and no expertise. I'll go to one of the frontier models and I'll say, I'm interviewing a project director about this aspect of construction of this kind of a commercial facility. Might be a hospital, it might be some infrastructure project. I have these questions listed that I'm going to ask. What questions am I not asking that I should in order to get to the information that I need in order to produce a really useful and interesting article for people? I'll play devil's advocate if I'm doing a communication change program. We're introducing Workday at WebCore. We have been going through this for pretty much the last 7 or 8 months in phases. So this is a change communication effort. And I'll say, here's our strategic plan for change for the introduction of Workday, which consolidates several tools that people were using to record their time and other HR and finance and accounting activities. This is the case that we are making to employees. What pushback can I expect? Invariably asking for new interview questions, asking for the model to play devil's advocate. I'm going to get answers that I hadn't considered. I'm going to get a lot of answers I did consider that I'd already thought of, but I'll get 2 or 3 questions to ask, or 2 or 3 reasons that employees might not buy into the argument that we're making that I hadn't considered before. So, you think of it as kind of like a really smart intern that can take on tasks that you assign it with a certain amount of guidance and good input and hand-holding. It can produce some great results. I use the image generators on our intranet because the intranet that I inherited when I came there, it's a platform that I hate with the fire of 1,000 suns. And one of the reasons is that it requires a banner image for every article. It doesn't matter how short the article is. It can just be an announcement of something. You still have to have that landscape banner image, or it throws up a gray rectangle. Now, we're a very visual organization. We're building things, but not every article lends itself to a visual, a photo from one of our projects. And I've sort of been confined to stock photo services, and a stock photo looks like a stock photo. But now I'm able to go to, Midjourney, for example, or DALL-E 3, or any of the image generators that are out there doing amazing things now, and give it information about the abstract topic that I'm writing about. It could be, for example, new sustainability regulations for building in California that are focused on carbon reduction. It could be the fact that we are building up our internal expertise around mechanical, electrical, and plumbing, MEP. We're core and shell experts, but we think that we would be of greater value to clients if we had equal expertise in MEP. So there are articles like this. We did one during Construction Inclusion Week that was about advocating on behalf of Black employees. And we have a senior executive who has been advocating for years on behalf of a Black employee in our technology function. And she has risen up to become the VP, the highest ranking person running the technology team. So we did interviews with both of them, needed an image to convey this idea. And they had both talked about this notion of being the only person in the room who looks like you. So I was able to work, I think it was with Midjourney, through several iterations to finally get to something that really spoke to that concept of being the only person in the room who looks like you and how that must feel. And one other example I'll give you is we do an April Fool's article every year. This year we announced that we're acquiring a commercial treehouse builder. There's no such thing as a commercial treehouse builder, but I needed images of commercial treehouses and got photographs that actually fooled some of our employees into thinking that this was real and not an April Fool's story. Just knocked me out. I couldn't believe that. We also use text to voice. For all of the articles that we are doing now that are focused on AI in particular, we're converting those to audio so that employees have the option to click a play button and listen to it instead of reading it. And we have plans to do that ultimately with every article that goes up on the intranet. But for right now, we're using it for demonstration purposes with just the AI-focused articles. But I mean, this really just kind of scratches the surface of what I'm using AI for on the job. I use it, I would have to say, hourly. There's hardly anything where I haven't found a way that AI can help me. Right.
Yeah, my biggest challenge has been just input overload, right? Where you have so much input that it actually takes a little bit longer to accomplish it within. And we've been doing the text to voice feature on our blog for a few years now. And, I'm not sure what the redemption is on that, but it's a nice feature to have. I know I've wanted to listen to or have content read to me while I'm on the go or something like that. So I'm sure that's helpful.
Yeah, I mean, project engineers spend their days in front of computer monitors with spreadsheets and drawings and headphones on. And we've asked, are you listening to music? And some of them are, and some of them are listening to podcasts. And if they can do their work and listen to a podcast, they can do their work and listen to an article. So we're hoping that it actually, I mean, if 20 people listen instead of read, that's 20 people who might not have read the article before.
That's exactly right. Good point. Well, let's talk about prompting generative AI and how do you prompt AI for optimal results?
Well, I think first we need to distinguish between asking a question and prompting. I think people have adopted this notion of prompt as what you do with AI. I think what most people are doing is asking questions. They're querying. They're not prompting. Prompting is a process, and there's a number of different ways to go about it depending on what you're trying to accomplish. I would say the best prompts start off with assigning a persona to the AI so that it provides its answers through the lens that you have told it to. I will say that you are, and it depends on what I'm asking it to do, you are a marketing professional who has won multiple international awards for your business-to-business marketing campaigns. So by doing that, you are affecting how it's going to access the tokens that are in the neurons that it uses to predict the next token, and it's going to give you a better, less generic answer. You've probably heard people say, I can always tell when AI has written something because it sounds like AI. That's when you say, write something about X, as opposed to priming it with a prompt. And then, the more detail that you can give it, the more that you can get it to frame its responses a certain way, the better those responses are going to be. There's a great example of this that Christopher S. Penn shared on LinkedIn, where basically what he wanted one of the frontier models to write the country music lyrics for a song about McDonald's French fries and how they're so great when you first get them and they're hot, but 5 minutes later they're just okay because they're cooling off, and 20 minutes later they're soggy, terrible cardboard. Yeah, right. So he started off by saying, you are a Grammy-winning lyricist who specializes in country music lyrics. What are the characteristics of a successful country music song? And it produced a list. And he said, great. Now, based on that, which of these characteristics are unique to country Western songs that you wouldn't find in other genres of songs? And it did that. And he continued this questioning process until what he had was a final document that was rather long, that had detailed information about the characteristics of, chart-busting country songs. Then he pasted that document in and said, based on all of this information, write the lyrics to a country Western song about McDonald's French fries and how they're so great when they're hot, but then they go bad. And it did a great job. And I think he used Suno to put that to country Western music. You could hear it on LinkedIn. But what he said is that anytime you wanted to write country western lyrics, now go back to that document and paste it in so that it has all of that information. It's all primed and prompted to produce something that is relevant and narrowly focused and effective, as opposed to, just say, write a country western song and have it come back with something generic and awful. The other things to keep in mind in prompting is don't settle for the first response that you get. Continue to ask questions, challenge it, ask it to try again, and explain why, and treat it like it's a person. It's not. I think it's important to keep that in mind. These are not people. These are neural networks. They don't have lived experience or empathy or any of that. I mean, all the things that you've heard people talk about since this all erupted about 2 years ago with the launch of the initial ChatGPT service. But if you treat it like a person, you're going to get better results. In fact, I have found that being polite to it pays off. I read somebody suggest that if you tell it that you're on a tight deadline and that your career rides on this, it's going to give you better answers. It cares. In fact, we talk about the tendency of AI to hallucinate, to make stuff up. And part of that is if it doesn't have a definitive answer in its training set, it's going to want to give you an answer because its interest is in satisfying you more than it is interested in being accurate. So it'll make stuff up. But the more you prompt it, the more information you give it, the less inclined it's going to be to do that. So have that conversation and provide all the detail you can and make it frame its answers.
Yeah, that's good. I like what you're saying. The one thing, and I've had the same experience. The more you prompt it and give it background and input, the better. And you said you can always tell when someone uses AI. I think the clarification is you always tell when someone uses AI without giving it that good background, because we've definitely produced content. I've personally produced content that no one knows the wiser that it's AI generated because of so much prompting and revising and things like that. So I got to say, I see days where it feels like days where AI is just not sharp. And I don't know if it's the operator, but like even yesterday, my car has full self-driving mode, and it was acting terrible yesterday and much better the day before, kind of thing. And so I just wonder what happens at times where I feel like the prompts just aren't as helpful, or the response you're getting or the output you're getting is not as spot on.
I wish I had a good answer for you. What I tend to do when I'm seeing one of the models struggling is I'll just bounce over to one of the other ones.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, I have a tendency, for example, if I'm working on an article and I'm looking for help with writing, I'm trying to find the right word or the right phrase, and I'll share. I tend to use Claude for that from Anthropic. They each tend to have their strengths, but if one of them's acting wonky, I'll just flip over to one of the other ones because they're not sharing the same servers, the same chips. So I find that they don't all go that way at the same time.
Sure,
I just make a change.
Yeah. I'm glad I asked.
Yeah, and in order to do that, I am paying for the pro accounts for all of them, and I'm doing that out of my own pocket because I don't want it to come out of my meager budget.
I gotcha. All right, so we've already talked a little about different AI platforms for creating various forms of media, and I'd like to come back to that on the other side after we take this quick break, Shel.
You're listening to On Top of PR with your host, Jason Mudd. Jason is a trusted advisor to some of America's most admired and fastest growing brands. He is the managing partner at Axia Public Relations, a PR agency that guides news, social, and web strategies for national companies. And now, back to the show.
Welcome back to On Top of PR. I'm your host, Jason Mudd. I'm joined by Shel Holtz, and we're talking about AI and the power of AI in the communication profession. Shel, we were just getting into the different AI platforms for creating various forms of media. You've mentioned a few already. Are there any others you wanted to share with our audience?
I have been having a great time with Suno, which is for music creation. I just used it yesterday. In fact, we had a grand opening of an office, and I shot some video and photos and put together a video and needed a music bed. And rather than spend an hour and a half listening to licensable music, I just told it what I wanted. It created a 4-minute song, and I just popped it right in, instrumental. Nice. It just worked fine. Took me maybe 3 or 4 minutes. So, and right now Suno is still completely free. They don't even have a paid version yet. So, and they've just released a new version. It's remarkable.
Nice. Well, I'll be sure to make a note to tell my team about that. Any other recommendations?
Runway, if you're looking to do video, video is still 5-second, 10-second clips. You're not going to produce a training video with services like Runway. These are going to be nice transitions or CGI type shots that you're not able to get with your camera. Okay. But it can be nice for that sort of thing. There's also some services like Synthesia and Gamma. Synthesia will create an entire video training program based on a little bit of input from you. I asked it just as an experiment to create an explainer on internal podcasts. And it gave me like a 7-minute presentation with 2 speakers and some
nice
some footage that it grabbed, and it did a nice job. Gamma will create PowerPoint presentations. And again, I experimented with that. I said, create a PowerPoint presentation about why dogs make better pets than cats. And it gave me 12 slides with images and attitude. Yeah, it was amazing. This stuff is just remarkable.
Okay, that's very helpful. We also want to kind of share with the audience about having a backup plan and preparing for AI platform shakeup. What are you expecting there? Or what are you cautioning about that?
Well, I think you need to understand when you're using AI that there are still pitfalls and be prepared. I mean, this is something that I have baked into I talked about workflows. So if I'm using AI in my workflow, not only do I have to add AI to the workflow as a tool for this particular communication activity, I also have to add the fact that I'm going to have to verify that the AI was accurate in the output that it gave me. I'm going to have to check it for bias because the data that it is trained on has bias baked into it, and therefore it has been trained in a biased way and can produce biased results. So all of those are things that you have to consider when you're planning to use this for communication. And of course, if you become overly reliant on it and the darn thing goes down, which I haven't seen like the Twitter fail whale type of frequency with these tools, but it's always possible.
You make a good
need to be
point
prepared.
there.
You need to be prepared.
Yeah. And, you mentioned earlier about how AI is like an intern. I use that example all the time. And, the intern that doesn't quit after getting frustrated with, 6 sets of revisions and always being told to go back and try again. And that's probably my favorite thing about it is it's the worker that's available 24/7, 365 without complaints. And no matter how much, and I'm always polite to it. I always think to myself, why am I being so polite? But it's just kind of one of those things. It's in my nature to try to be polite and appreciative. So,
yeah. And I think that's a good thing to teach kids too. Otherwise they'll start treating everybody the way they treat the AI.
Yeah.
And of course, what we're looking at now is the agents coming out starting next year. This whole concept of agentic AI, which rather than query response, you're going to assign it a task and it will take multiple steps on its own.
Right.
Actually using your screen to book flights or
nice.
Post social media items or what have you.
You're reminding me of the meme where people were like, I don't need AI to replace my job. I just need to do my dishes and my laundry, right? So that's what I want too. All right, let's talk about disclosure and ethics of using AI in communication. And we will also put a link to an episode that I did about this previously as well. But Shel, what are your thoughts there on disclosure and ethics?
Sure. And I wrote a LinkedIn article about this because there are people out there saying that you need to disclose when you used AI every single time, no matter what it was. And I think that's ridiculous.
Yeah, I
think you need to disclose whenever the use of AI, if people don't know that you used it, could lead them to be deceived. Or thinking that something was real that wasn't. I'll give you an example of when I did not disclose the use. Well, first of all, I don't disclose that I used AI for those banner images
right.
because who cares? I didn't disclose that I used a stock photo service before that or a graphic artist. But I got a request from one of our executives to synthesize a long document. It was the result of a brainstorming session with all of the company's leaders. I was in that meeting. It was a SWOT analysis. And I was looking at easy 2.5 days of work to handle the several hundred bullet points and consolidate and eliminate duplication and put them all in the same tone of voice and categorize them into right categories with the right labels. And then it occurred to me, this was in the April following the release of ChatGPT, so April 2023. And I took all of the strengths, I scrubbed them. So my company's name wasn't anywhere in that document, nor was our parent company's name, nor were any executive names or project names. And then I basically gave it the instructions that the executive had given me. And it did a great job. I had to pull up the original document side by side, and I made some changes. It had deleted a few things that I needed to have in there. There were a couple of labels that were not right. There were a couple of bullets that needed to be put in different categories. I repeated this for all four elements of the SWOT analysis, and then married them up into a Word document. Did I tell the executive that I used AI to do this? No. First of all, he wouldn't have cared, and I wouldn't have told him that I'd used Excel to crunch some numbers. It was a tool that I used.
Right.
On the other hand, if our CEO gave a speech and I used AI to have him give that speech in his own voice in Italian, for employees in Italy, if we had any, I would absolutely disclose because he doesn't speak Italian. And I don't want anyone to be deceived. I don't want anyone to think that he speaks Italian, or I'll tell people that this is AI that we employed so that you could hear the CEO in his own voice give you the same remarks that he gave to our American employees in English.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. I like that. All right. So the last thing we want to talk about during our time together is, the question I think a lot of people are asking or maybe not asking, which is, will I lose my job to AI? And I know we warmed up with this discussion a little bit about our views personally. So I'm looking forward to talking to you about that.
Yeah. It's possible that you'll lose your job to AI, especially as agentic AI kicks in and can handle complete tasks that communicators handle. This has always been the way with new technology. You're also going to find that there will be thousands and thousands of jobs that didn't exist 5 years ago in AI. I mean, if you consider today how many people are working in web development, how many people are working in social media, these are jobs that didn't exist. There's a label for this. It's called creative destruction, and it's always taken place. I don't think most communicators are at risk. There are a lot of other jobs that I think are hugely at risk. I think paralegals, insurance claims adjusters, these are jobs where AI can do all of the work that these folks do. Communication has too much invested in it that requires that human element, and AI in general requires a human in the loop anyway. So I think that the communicators who are going to be best positioned to keep their jobs are the ones who know how to use AI to do it, to be more productive. And this is basically all of the uses that I have shared with you today are uses that make me more productive. I'm spending less time on drudgery and more time on strategy and creativity.
Yes.
And I think the leaders of organizations or the leaders of comms departments are going to get to the point where they're going to know somebody doesn't know how to use AI because of the amount of time it's taking them to do something.
Right.
That, if you used AI, well, the drudgery part of this would only take a couple of minutes. Why did it take you 3 hours? So, the old line I've been hearing for years now is that you're not going to lose your job to AI. You're going to lose your job to somebody who knows how to use it.
Yep. That's right. And that's exactly what we were talking about earlier. Like I said, I was on a panel with other communication professionals I was observing a panel, I should say. And I think all 3 or 4 of them were just like, I don't use AI. I don't know if it's ethical. I don't think it's ready yet. And they had all these reasons. And then they assured the audience that AI was not going to take their jobs. And I just thought to myself, it's not going to take the jobs of people who know how to use it, but it will take your job if you refuse to use it, I think.
Yeah. And there are copywriters on Madison Avenue who are already out of work thanks to AI. So there's a lot of work that we do in communication that just needs to be good enough. And what does AI do? It does good enough for a lot of things. So if that's the kind of work you do, I think you have a reason to worry.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm unique in this, Shel, but I'm definitely leading the charge of AI within my organization and showing examples and doing video recordings of how I'm using it to help inspire others to use it instead of thinking the old way, and realizing that I become more valuable to my clients and the organization that I work at if I can use AI and still produce quality work, and in fact, ideally produce more volume than I did before at a greater quality.
Yeah. And there are more and more PR tools emerging around this. Aaron Quitkin has Profit, which is amazing. Give it a press release. It'll find all of the reporters who are writing about that sort of thing and craft all of the pitches to those reporters that you can then go in and revise. It'll send them. It's all just time saving. It just makes us more productive and more effective.
Yep, exactly. Shel, this has been a great episode. Thanks for being here with us today. And we'll be sure to post the episode notes that have links to the various things we talked about for those that are interested.
I had a great time. Appreciate the conversation.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it too. All right. Well, with that, this has been another episode of On Top of PR. We want to thank our special guest, Shel Holtz, for joining us today. And thank you for taking the time to tune in and invest in your career and getting more familiar with the power of AI in communication. If you found this episode helpful, would you do us a favor and either leave us a review or share this episode with a friend and colleague who you think would benefit from it? With that, this is Jason Mudd signing off, hoping that today's episode helped you stay on top of PR.
This has been On Top of PR with Jason Mudd, presented by ReviewMaxer. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss an episode, and check out past shows at ontopofpr.com.